Welcome everyone to the Culture Estate channel, where we talk all things real estate and business. Today, I'm going to break down to you how I lost over $300,000 in real estate in the month of March 2020. You're not going to want to miss this. But before we get started, please do me a favor. Since I've lost so much, can you please possibly hit that thumbs up button? It would mean a lot to me. It wouldn't get me back to $300,000, but at least we'll get a thumbs up on this video. As you know, March has been an incredibly terrible month for just about everyone, not just real estate people. But for myself, I focus on real estate. The month of March, I was geared up to be probably the most profitable month I've ever had in my life as a professional. But it didn't seem to work out that way. I'm going to detail to you, deal by deal, how much money I lost between commissions and sales and just about every other way you can make money in real estate. It really has hit me hard. But it's okay, because in real estate, it's not always about making profits. Sometimes you take losses, but in the long term, if you stick with it, you'll always come out on top. Now let me go deal by deal and show you exactly what went wrong. Okay, so our first property was going to be a sale and a wholesale. One of my agents was going to close on this property and we were going to make commission off of that sale. And we also were going to assign that property after we closed on it. So all in all, we were going to make up $20,000 to $25,000 on that transaction alone. So with this property, what ended up happening is that the investor was taking a little bit longer than he should have. And then the hard money lender took too long to get us to closing. And once we did finally get it clear to close, what happened was that the short sale had expired. So then we had to go back to the bank and ask the bank to reissue a new approval. But the appraisal was expired. So the bank actually had to send a new appraiser out to give us a new short sale approval. Now this time around, when the appraiser came back, they valued the home much, much higher. I don't even know how that was possible, since prices were going to start plummeting pretty soon. But the deal ended up not closing because we couldn't get an approval for the same price that we had before. Our next property is 46 Aldine Street. This is just a regular listing. It was scheduled to close in March, but it didn't close at the very last minute because the lender started tightening up guidelines. And because of that, this has been prolonged to God knows when. Our next property is 94 Willoughby Street in Newark. This property actually was going to be purchased along with another property by a new set of investors that I had recently met. I was the listing agent and buyer's agent for both, so I was going to make a lot of money on these transactions. On just Willoughby alone, I was going to make $10,000. But from one day to the next, the investors went cold. Didn't even answer my phone calls anymore. Now, you really can't call yourself a true investor if, number one, you back out at the drop of a dime, and number two, you don't communicate with your real estate agent after they worked really hard for you. I lost all total respect for these guys, and if they ever come back to me in the future and ask for any of my listings— Who's this? Oh, sorry, I can't hear you. I can't hear fake investors. Next property is 22 La Valencia. I've been working on this property since last summer. Now, this home is special because it really is in a great neighborhood, and I got the short sale approved not too long ago. So on this property, we were going to make about $21,000 when we resold it to the investor after closing. We were also going to make about $20,000 in commission. So all in all, this one was going to be a home run. But unfortunately, since the market started to tank, the investor backed out and he thought that the price was too much. He asked us to renegotiate, but we told him there really wasn't any room to renegotiate because the banks really weren't going to bring down the prices because the home values in the area hadn't really dropped yet, because the comps were still the comps. So we are trying to renegotiate with the bank, but in the meantime, we also put it back on the market to see if we could at least sell it and just get the real estate commission. Our next property is 4 Blue Ridge Drive. Now this property is way out of my area. It's about an hour and a half south of where I normally do business, but it's a great area. Homes in this area sell for about $450,000, and we had it approved for about $152,000. The home does need a lot of work, and the basement has about 4 feet of water. But when I looked for investors to sell this home to, I was getting values of about $200,000 as a wholesale deal. So our objective with this deal was to close on the property, have a buyer lined up afterwards that we can assign it to, and keep it moving. So on this deal, we were going to make almost $50,000 with a reassignment and commission included. But just like all my other deals, I had a line of people waiting to buy this house from me. But once the market tanked, there was no one in sight who wanted this property. So currently right now, we're trying to renegotiate the price to see if we can bring it down and then reassign it to one of our investors after we close on it. Next is 152 Warren Street. This property I thought was going to fly off the shelf. because it's in an up-and-coming, gentrifying area of northern New Jersey. I had this property sold for $85,000, and at $85,000, I was going to make about $25,000 after closing on it and reassigning it to an investor. But since the market is getting so tight and investors are really not buying anything at the moment, they're just sitting on the sideline unless it's a real huge home run, they decided to back out of this deal too. Not only that, but the investor has a hard money lender or private lender who said that they would fund them for just about any deal. Well, it turns out that even that investor decided to not back him on any deals in a foreseeable future. So what we did with this home is that we're just trying to find another investor because it's priced so well. It's about $85,000 and this home can be resold for about $275,000 once it's in good condition. So we're just gonna sit tight on this one and see if we can find ourselves a new buyer. Our next property is 660 West Grand Street. So this property was actually a listing that I took with one of my agents, and he was gonna buy it as an investment property, but it turns out that he just decided to see if we can wholesale it to someone after we close on it. So we did, we put it on the market and we had a few people interested in this property. We were gonna sell it and make about $15,000 to $20,000 as an assignment fee after we closed on it, but it turns out that all the people that were interested in this one as well disappeared. Next property is 1057 Magnolia. This property I was considering keeping for myself because I love multifamily homes in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And this one is a little bit different. It's a mixed-use property. So I had a store on the first floor and I had an apartment on the second floor, but it's in a great area. So I considered keeping this as one of the properties I wanted in my books. But I promised myself that this year I wasn't gonna get into too many heavy rehabs, and this property needed a lot of work. So we got the property approved for about $140,000. And I found someone who was gonna take it off our hands for about $160,000, $170,000. So in this property, we were gonna make about $25,000, not including the real estate commission we were gonna get paid. So this one was gonna be a home run for us as well. We're looking to make about $30,000 on this deal. But just like all of our other deals, when the market started to look like it was going down, all of our investors dried up. Next property, 38 Mead Street. Now this is one of the two properties that was gonna get purchased by my investors who were gonna take those two property package. And the funny thing is they were even asking me for more properties. But every time there was a roadblock, they would hide behind their attorney and actually double back on everything they said to begin with. So it was, oh, yes, 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 yes in the beginning. And as soon as the deal started to actually take place, they would always change terms. And that should have been a huge red flag for me. But you know what? I said, these are new guys. I don't know them that well. They seem like maybe they're newbie investors, so they're a little bit nervous. But it looks like they're solid and they're going to be able to close. But it turns out they backed out of this deal as well. My next property is not actually dead just yet. What ended up happening with our next property is 746 Summer. This property I own and it's a two-family house. So I was getting ready to cash out refinance on this property and take out about $40,000. But it turns out that my hard money lender and my non-QM lender, they're not doing any more refis. The money for that has been dried up. So I had to go to a regular conventional lender. And it turns out that the conventional lenders are not doing cash out refinances on investment properties. My next property is 61 Florida Street. Now this property is a home that I've owned for many years with my partner. And we were gonna sell this home at one point for about $275,000 of a few years ago, but we decided to hold on to it for a little bit longer. Well, it turns out that we had an offer on this home for $415,000 just a few months ago. On that one, we were gonna make about $200,000. My take home was probably gonna be around 100 and my partner's was gonna be 100,000 as well. So we went under contract. And what happened is we had multiple offers on this house. And the buyer who ended up getting it now backed out because he's unsure how the market's gonna be. And this is not an investor, this is someone who was actually gonna live in the house. But since he got so scared and got cold feet, he just backed out. Now he didn't back out because of inspections, he didn't back out because he got denied for the mortgage, he just backed out because he was scared. So I told my attorney, I'm going to go after this person and I'm going to sue them for liquidated damages if I sell it for anything less than what I had it under contract for. And his response to me was, you can do that, but it seems like more and more people are able to back out of these deals because of a national disaster. So if they go in front of a judge, the judge will probably allow them to back out of it because of the circumstances that we're all under. So unfortunately for me, I had to put this home back on the market and I still to this day don't have another offer. Next property, 614 Colonial Avenue. Now one of my agents had been working hard on this property and he locked it up and asked me if I had a buyer for it. And I do, I had an investor who was gonna take it off our hands. So I was gonna make about $10,000 on this transaction. The deal is not actually dead, we're still working on this deal, but it seems like it's gotten a lot more difficult ever since the market took a downturn. My buyer's still willing to buy it, and the seller's still willing to sell it, but in the meantime, we're just working on trying to get funding. So here's the question of the day. How has the real estate market impacted you? Leave it down below in the comments. I'd love to hear about your story, so I feel like I'm not alone in this. I want to hear about how your deals are dying, or maybe you closed some deals, or maybe you've got some more deals right now that you didn't have before. I'd love to hear about it, so leave it down below. So now if you do the math on all those properties, we're looking at about $300,000 that was either gone or prolonged to God knows when. So in real estate, you got to understand, it's not all what you see on TV and all these guys that are popping up showing you, hey, this is how you make money in the downturn. Listen, right now, there is not a lot of investors that are taking that chance. There might be some institutional investors, there might be some very cash heavy investors who are buying super duper home runs, and I'm not denying that. They're probably buying homes that are cash flowing, and there's probably gonna be opportunities out there for those people. But for the most part, it's not what they're claiming it is. It's a very difficult market right now. I wish we even had half the business that we had the month before, but it's not time yet. It'll come back, I'm sure it will. Real estate is not something you can just give up on and say, oh, you know what? It was a trend and it happened and it's gone, it'll never come back. Well, unfortunately, it's gone for now, but it will come back. And that's the thing with real estate, it's cyclical. There's times when you have a lot of investors, there's times when you have a lot of sellers, there's times where the market is different and it's advantageous for different people. So in this video, what I want to get across to you is explain to you that there's certain laws that come across with investing. If you win big, sometimes you lose big. And the bigger you play and the more investments you have, sometimes the more you're going to come up upside down. So I'm not down and I'm not out about the situation because I know we're all experiencing pretty much the same thing. I'm being very optimistic about the situation. I'm looking for opportunities, and I know that with time, these transactions will eventually close. Now, I'll do a follow-up video when I start closing these deals, but for the meantime, I'm just going to educate you on what you can do from home and how you can actually sharpen your skills with the time that you currently have right now. So if you think about it, it's kind of like being in a car race. When you stop to service the car, the crew changes and updates everything in a matter of seconds. And before you know it, you're right back on and you start speeding right along. But if you make a pit stop and you take too long and things don't go the way that they're supposed to, and you don't work on the things you're supposed to fix while you're in that stop, it's gonna take you longer to catch up to everyone. And then when you do, you have a lot of chance of you breaking down. So right now, when we're all in this pit stop, you wanna make sure that you tighten up your tires, your alignment, your oil, and you check all your fluids. What am I talking about? Check your fluids. So real estate is not one stop along a train line. It's actually a long journey. So I'm not really bummed out about losing that money, or not losing, because you really can't lose something you never had. But that's why I say you can't really count your chickens before they're hatched, because in this business, you really can't count on that money until it's cleared in your bank account. I learned that the hard way. When I first got into real estate, I actually went on vacation, and it was gonna be one of my very first transactions that was gonna close. And I went because I was counting on that money and I was gonna be able to pay for my bills and pay for any credit card debt that I was gonna accumulate in Miami. But while I was on vacation, I actually got the phone call that that deal was dead. I got a call from an appraiser a few days before that, and I didn't know what the appraiser was even talking about. The appraiser tells me that the house underappraised, and I didn't know what that meant. What? I thought that was a good thing. Maybe the buyer's gonna get it for a cheaper price now. I said, no worries, that's great. So then I get a call while I'm on vacation and they tell me that the deal's dead because the seller won't come down in price and the buyer can't bring any more money to the closing. So that's just how real estate is, and it's gonna shake you up from time to time, but it's okay because we're in this for the long run. I know that every one of those deals will come back, and I'll do many more deals on top of that, and I'll be making a video in a few years talking about how I made $3 million in a month and not 30,000 or 300,000. It's just a matter of time, guys, and you have to be patient because anything in life that you're gonna wanna do is not gonna come easy if it's worth it. If it's very easy, then it's gonna be easy come, easy go. Nothing that I've ever worked for in life that I got handed to me I ever valued. But the things that were difficult and the things that were hard were the things that most caught my attention, because those are the things you want to strive for. You want to strive for the things that are going to push you, stretch you, and make you a better person. Now, could I never make 300,000 again in a month? No, of course I can, because you know what? I've already built the mindset for it. I already have what it takes to actually get those deals back in place. Right now, I just got to sharpen other tools. I got other things to work on right now besides real estate. Because real estate, let's be honest, if anyone's out there telling you right now that real estate wholesaling or investing or no money down this, or take advantage of the bank's that. If they're telling you this, if they're telling you that this is the way that you're gonna make money right now, you better not listen to that, because real estate right now is in a funk. It's a little bit of a weird place, and you're not gonna just be able to get up and go get a loan and go do things the way it used to be. It's gonna be harder even for owner occupants to get regular deals. It's gonna be much more strict, and the guidelines are gonna change, I'm sure of it. But if there's anything I can tell you about this, is that there are gonna be opportunities. You're gonna have to learn how to strategize with banks. You're gonna have to learn how to negotiate short sales, and you're gonna have to keep an eye open, because those people who were on the fence about selling before may be more inclined to sell now because out of fear or maybe out of necessity. So you might be able to actually get some really great deals right now. And you may not have the money, and you may not be able to lean on the bank for money, but right now is a great time to actually talk to other people in your circle, or maybe family members who actually have money that's parked and it's not returning much interest for them. And maybe now is the time to load up on a property and get it actually cash flowing, and then think about selling it when the market gets better. That's just my 2 cents. See, now I don't claim to know everything about real estate, but I will tell you what experiences I've had, and the things that go right and the things that go wrong for me. And now I've learned a lot of things, and I've trained over thousands of investors in my life. But the most important thing that I learned is you can't time the market. And the best thing you could do is actually put good practices to work. Now, a good practice in this economy would be getting yourself some great inventory right now at a very low price, but not something that's going to require a lot of work or something you plan on fixing and flipping. Right now, we're not in a fix and flip mode. Right now, we're in a finding a great deal mode and putting that property as a rental on your portfolio. Now, you may not be able to cash out as much as you were before, but I think this is going to serve as a lesson for a lot of us that we should not over leverage our properties. Some people think that 75% or 80% is normal, but what happens if the market corrects and it comes down 20%? Then you don't have any equity in that property at all if you have to fire sale it. Now, if you only leverage that property to 60, 65, or 70%, you'll still have room if you're ever in a pinch and you have to sell that house fast. Now, if you're enjoying this content, share it with a friend, hit the subscribe button, but most importantly, hit the notification bell. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. So if you're wondering how I was able to grow such a large real estate organization and get these many properties under contract and be able to make that much money, well, I'm going to leave a link down below in the description where we're going to have a mastermind once a week where we cover real estate and business topics, and I hope you get on track to do exactly what I did and even more. Now, you're not done just yet. If you want to learn more about real estate investing, I'm going to need you to hit this playlist right here. In it, we're going to teach you everything from A to Z about real estate investing. The information we teach you there, you can actually spend tens of thousands of dollars paying other people to show you how to do it, but we're giving it to you for free. So take advantage of it, guys, and watch it now. Sorry, no comprendo fake investor lingo. Ugh. That's insane. Who's this? Oh, sorry, I can't hear you. I can't hear fake investors. Nope.